Given the tremendous level of interest in the past few videos about what F1 drivers drive to the track, I'm doing another one based on what they drove to the Barcelona circuit. So who do you think drove the most expensive car and the least expensive car to the Barcelona circuit? At the end of this video you will know, but let me start off with the number one driver, Lewis Hamilton. What did he drive to the track? Well, he stayed at the track. He had a motorhome positioned, well, probably no more than 200 metres from the swipe gates. So he rode in on his scooter. Obviously it'd be nice to have a look inside the vehicle that he stayed in, but there's a fat chance of that, I'd suggest. Let's have a look at his teammate, Valtteri Bottas. Well, he too stayed at the track in one of those motorhomes, and he came into the track on foot, so no vehicle involved there. Let's have a look at probably what is the number 2 driver this year, Max Verstappen. He came in a Honda Civic Type R. Now, this is the same car that he came in last race. Now, when I say the same car, I don't mean the same make and model. I mean the exact same car with the same number plates they had in Portimao. Now, I don't know how they get them here, whether somebody drives them here or whether they're put on a truck. I kind of think they're probably put on a truck. Max had the white version. Sergio Perez, he had the light blue version, and they would come in with 3 or 4 people in that car and park in the car park, make that short walk through to the swipe gate. And since we're talking about the Red Bull team, let's go on to the AlphaTauri boys. Once again, exactly the same 2 cars, but for some reason, this race, Pierre and Yuki switched cars. Yuki had the white one and Pierre got the blue one for this race. And I actually married up the number plates. The 9034 car was being driven by Yuki in Portimao and by Pierre this race. Of course, there's great publicity value for engine makers like Honda and teams like Aston Martin to put the F1 drivers in those cars, because even if you just take this video, which might get out to, I don't know, 300,000 or 400,000 people, they get great promotional value out of that. And then you get something like a Ted Kravitz who'll do something on television. You can multiply that by 10, maybe 20, I don't know. It's a proven marketing strategy. The Renault boys, Esteban and Fernando, in fact, arrived together on one day and fist bumped each other out in the car park and parked their cars next to each other. And what were they? Were they something impressive and out of this world? No, they were simple people movers. Renault Initials, worth around 46,000 euros. And of course, it depends on which country you're buying these in, and there's such a wide range. So please don't take these figures as absolute gospel. Both of them had black cars parked next to each other on a couple of days. Let's face it, they're functional vehicles. What about the Aston Martin drivers, I hear you cry? Well, Sebastian Vettel drove in on his feet because he too was staying in a motorhome just outside the swipe gates and would walk in on his own without his trainer, Antti Concess, without his PR manager, Britta Ruska. He would catch up with them inside of the paddock, and he was always very relaxed coming in. And his teammate Lance Stroll came in this Aston Martin, although I didn't actually see him arrive in that car any day. I mainly caught him as he was just about to go through the swipe gates with his girlfriend Sarah, without an H. What about the McLaren drivers? Did either or both of them finally get a McLaren to drive to the track? Yes, one did. Just one. Which one? Lando Norris. He drove a McLaren 720S. A beautiful looking car, very sleek, very low to the ground. That vehicle is worth around 255,000 euros. And he parked that in a separate section, and I don't know why, but that was parked over here in the area near the motorhomes. And of course this has the snazzy doors that open upwards. And what model McLaren did Daniel get? He didn't get one. He ended up in a BMW M40 DX4, a vehicle worth around 77,000 euros. And I can't tell you why he didn't also get a McLaren, but maybe he'll get one next race. Well, in fact, no, he won't. I wouldn't have thought, because he'll be staying in his home and getting to the track, I imagine, probably either on foot or on a scooter or on a motorbike or bicycle, because parking is tricky in Monaco. And even for the next race in Baku, I doubt that they'll be driving cars to that track because of the fact that most of them stay in either the Hilton or the Marriott. The Hilton's actually inside the track and the Marriott's just a short walk over a bridge. So I can't see them driving cars to the track, and as such, there won't be a video like this for at least another 2 races. I bet you want to know what Ferraris were being driven by the Ferrari drivers, And thankfully, yes, both of them had Ferraris. Charles came in a, I think this was dark blue, almost black, a Ferrari Roma. That one is worth around 220,000 euros. But I think Carlos's car was the more impressive. This was the Ferrari 812 Superfast. Goes for around 340,000 euros, and boy, did it look spectacular. Very rich red, and I was able to photograph him driving into the car park because there's a few tells when the Ferrari drivers are coming, because often you'll get Mir Jasic out there, the PR manager for Charles, or you'll get the team photographer out there waiting, and that's a good clue to be on alert for a Ferrari driver or two. Next up, the Alfa Romeo drivers, and I can tell you that Antonio Giovinazzi came in this Giulia, worth around 45,000 euros. Interestingly, on at least one day, Antonio came in driving on his own, as did Lando Norris on the Sunday, drove in on his own in that McLaren. And as for Kimi Räikkönen, I can't tell you. I have no idea. Last race he drove, I think it was a Stelvio, but this race I never saw him on any of the 4 days come into the paddock, and I'm out there for a long time. None of my colleagues saw him come in. I don't even know whether he was driving in. Perhaps he was in the 6th motorhome and just spirited himself into the paddock. And the final two are Nicholas Latifi and George Russell. Now, Nicholas Latifi drove in a black Mercedes, and I can't tell you the model because I was distracted the one day I was anywhere near him arriving with George Russell and his girlfriend. So here's a snapshot of Nicholas and the rear quarter panel of the car. It's a black Mercedes SUV of some sort, maybe you can tell from what you're seeing there. And the other one, George Russell, was driving a GLC 200, which is worth around 56,000 euros. Actually, that's not the last team, is it? Because I've missed out on the Haas team. Now, I do happen to know that both of those drivers stayed in motorhomes, and hence one, Mick Schumacher, came in on foot, very leisurely with his trainer, and Nikita Mazepin used his scooter. I don't have a photo. I did see it with my eyes, though, so I speak from fact that he went to one of the far gates. That's what the 20 drivers were driving, but I'll run through just quickly what two of the team principals arrived in. One was quite a spectacular car. Well, look, they're both great cars, and you wouldn't knock either of them back. And I'm talking about here Mattia Binotto in this Maserati Levante, worth around 93,000 euros. But Otmar Safnauer came in probably one of the best cars. I think there's only one other car worth more than this. And this was an Aston Martin Superleggera, worth around 320,000 euros. And a few minutes after Otmar had parked that car, some of the truck drivers who drive for Aston Martin were out there polishing it up, probably spending 20 minutes or so getting it back into perfect nick. So summing it up, the cheapest was the Alfa Romeo Giulia, and the most expensive, the Ferrari 812 Superfast. If you're staying in a hotel with curtains and you can't get absolute blackness, and in the wardrobe you have hangers with clips on them, use those to clamp the curtains shut at the joint and get yourself a full night's sleep without any light coming into your room. I've had a number of requests from people asking what cameras and lenses do I take on such a long trip. Hence, I'll run through them with you now. At the moment, I'm using a 16 to 35mm lens on a Canon EOS R. Now, if I had my time again, I would have got the R5. This is the camera that I use, and I have two of these bodies. This is a 1DX Mark III. It's a mighty machine, shoots at about 14 frames a second, produces magnificent photos, immensely reliable and strong and sturdy. You can even get a bit of rain on this, and technically it shouldn't affect it. Now, on this camera is a 50mm lens. This one's a prime, so in other words, you can't zoom, you have to use your feet, and I've got a polarizer on it. Now, I use polarizers almost all the time, and yes, even in lowish light, not just bright sunshine. I carry this 85mm lens with me. It's very heavy, beautiful for portraits. I must admit, I don't use it that often. I certainly use the 50 a lot more, but This is the lens that I have on a camera just about at every moment of the day at Formula One. This is a 70 to 200 millimeter lens. Quite frankly, I could shoot a race with just this lens alone. Although I wouldn't like to do it, it is certainly possible. So if you're ever looking for your first good lens to photograph motorsport, you would get a 70 to 200. And then I might have to move back a little bit here. Oh no, fits it in. This is a 600 millimeter lens. Now it's not the biggest lens that I have an 800, but that's way too heavy. This is the Mark II. Now for Canon fans, this is probably 500 to 600 grams lighter than the previous version. And whilst it looks long here, really this bit here at the end is just to protect the lens. So you could, if you wanted, shoot with that, but you smash that and you're in a fair amount of trouble. And with that said, I'm going to say thank you for watching this video. Like, subscribe and notify. ProStarPics.com for digital images. You'll get my F1 photo books for all the drivers. Well, I say all, I haven't done one for Nicholas, Yuki or Nikita yet. I just don't have enough images. But the other 23 drivers, yes, you can pick those up at kimillman.com. And for my best pics live from the track and all during the week, head to Instagram at kimillman. Thanks for watching and stay passionate. I love this ham.